Anti-Spanish sentiment to Hispanophobia. Fear is a fear, distrust, aversion, hatred, or discrimination against Hispanic people, Hispanic culture and the Spanish language. Its opposite is Hispanophilia. As a historical phenomenon, it is considered to have had three main stages, originating in 16th-century Europe, reawakening during 19th-century disputes over Spanish and Mexican territory such as the Spanish-American and Mexican-American Wars, and finally in tandem with politically charged controversies such as bilingual education and illegal immigration to the United States. Within the complex identity politics of Spain, Catalan and Basque nationalism has also been identified with Hispanophobic views and discourse. History. The Black Legend. Early instances of Hispanophobia arose as the influence of the Spanish Empire and Inquisition spread through late medieval Europe. During this period, Hispanophobia materialized in folklore, sometimes referred to as the Black Legend. The legend first arose amid the religious strife and imperial rivalries of 16th-century Europe. Northern Europeans who loathed Catholic Spain and envied its American empire published books and gory engravings that depicted Spanish colonization as uniquely barbarous, an orgy of greed, slaughter and papist depravity. The Inquisition writ large, La Leyenda Negra as Spanish historians first named it, entailed a view of Spaniards as unusually cruel, avaricious, treacherous, fanatical, superstitious, hot-blooded, corrupt, decadent, indolent, and authoritarian. As Spain and England colonized the Americas, the Black Legend informed Anglo-Americans' judgments about the political, economic, religious, and social forces that had shaped the Spanish provinces from Florida to California, as well as throughout the hemisphere. These judgments were handed down from Europeans who saw the Spaniards as inferior to other European cultures. Thus in North America, Hispanophobia preceded the United States' Declaration of Independence by almost 200 years. Historians theorize that the English and the Dutch employed and encouraged it as part of their efforts to undermine the Spanish Empire. Early New Englanders engaged in Hispanophobic efforts to assimilate Spanish colonies. In North America, a deep current of Hispanophobia pervades Anglo-Saxon culture. As early as the late 17th century, we find Puritan divines like Cotton Mather and Samuel Sewall studying Spanish with a view to winning converts to the version of Protestantism. Sewall spoke of bombing Santo Domingo, Havana, Puerto Rico, and Mexico itself with the Spanish Bible, and Cotton Mather even wrote a book on Protestant doctrine in Spanish, published in Boston in 1699, intended for, as he might say, the darker regions of Spanish America. The Black Legend gained strength again in the press in 1933 due to the Cortez investigations of the Prime Minister of the time, Azana. Allegedly, Azana ordered his police to take no prisoners and to shoot them in the belly during the Spanish Civil War. American press reported on these incidents, fueling up the Black Legend viewpoint that still continues today, some 500 years later. Hispanophobia in the United States. Another circumstance, according to historian David J. Weber, that shaped the depth of Anglo-Americans' Hispanophobia was the degree to which they saw Hispanics as an obstacle to their ambitions. As the U.S. grew into a republic, anti-Spanish sentiment exhibited a recrudescence. Spain was perceived as the antithesis of separation of church and state and as a paragon of monarchy and colonialism. This apparently fundamental opposition to the United States' founding principles fueled hostility that would eventually culminate in the Spanish-American War of 1898. Hispanophobia is particularly evident in the historiography of the Texas Revolution. In essence, the Texas Rebellion had been little more than a struggle for political and economic power. But early Texas historians elevated the revolt against Mexico to a sublime collision of moral influences, a moral struggle, and a war for principles. Hispanophobia, with its particularly vitriolic anti-Mexican variant, also served as a convenient rationale to keep Mexicans in the place. Throughout the 20th century, an array of mostly political and economic forces have driven immigration from a multitude of Spanish-speaking countries, such as Cuba, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, and Mexico, to the relatively strong economy and stable political environment of the United States. As a result, according to some historians, Americans now have something called a Hispanic, which describes not someone born in a Spanish-speaking country, nor someone who speaks Spanish well or badly, nor even someone with a Hispanic surname, but someone who identifies himself as such. As key corollary to this development, it is toward this group, which is not precisely or rigorously defined, that U.S. Hispanophobia is now predominantly oriented. Many forms of Hispanophobia endemic to the Texas Revolution still flourish in the United States today. Contemporary forms of Hispanophobia in the United States. Official English and Mock Spanish. Sociologists cite the official English or English-only movement, together with Hispanophobic jokes and discourse, as a prominent example of modern-day Hispanophobia. The official English movement has been criticized because its mass appeal is not as relating to any measurable benefit that would result from the eradication of bilingual education and other bilingual services. Rather, its appeal results from the fact that challenges to the status of one's language typically engage deep-seated feelings about national identity and group worth. Proponents of this view point out that the English-only movement attracts public support primarily by functioning as a Hispanophobic form of intimidation. Mock Spanish is also a particular point of controversy. Mock Spanish indirectly indexes one dimension of white public space, the right of people racialized as white to use a language associated with color, without any attention to norms of correctness of grammar, orthography, or pronunciation. Finally, Mock Spanish exploits and continually reproduces negative stereotypes of Spanish speakers, jokes, along with exaggerated imitations of a Spanish accent, as in "Es no my job" and "Mine Jose Jimenez." Immigration controversy. Citing groups such as the Minuteman Project, sociologists have concluded that some anti-illegal immigration arguments in the United States have been tainted with xenophobia and Hispanophobia, many of them drawing on concepts of racial purity and eugenics. These groups' concern with illegal immigration, they assert, lies not in immigration per se, which has declined in the last decade, but in the changing national origin of new immigrants. That is, immigrants are now mainly Latin American or Asian, which is seen as a threat to the Anglo-Saxon tradition. In 2006, Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard and U.S. Attorney Paul Charlton sent a letter of complaint to Federal Communications Commission Chairman Kevin Martin, in response to the following comments made by radio host Brian James. "We'll call it immigration roulette. What we'll do is randomly pick one night every week where we will kill whoever crosses the border. Step over there and you die. You get to decide whether it's your lucky night or not. I think that would be more fun." Calling the speech dangerous and totally irresponsible for anyone, particularly a licensed body using public airways, Goddard and Charlton expressed concern that it would lead to violence in the state, where conflict over illegal immigration was growing increasingly heated. Brian James never apologized for his comments and claimed his comments were satire. The radio station, FYI, in its defense, indicated that James made his statement as he was trying out for a regular position on the station and was not an employee. New Jersey Internet radio host, white supremacist and convicted felon Hal Turner, who used to broadcast out of his house, made similar remarks, a number of which the Anti-Defamation League has posted under the category of extremism. On April 1, 2006, Turner said, "These filthy, disease-ridden, two-legged bags of human debris are too stupid to believe. Just think, America, if we bring enough of them here, they can do for America exactly what they did for Mexico. Turn our whole country into a crime-ridden, drug-infested slum. These people are subhuman. I would love it if folks who have such weapons used them on the crowds on April 10. I advocate machine gunning these invaders to death at the rallies."